Hi, I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome to No BS Coaching Advice on blab.im. I try to meet Monday through Friday at noon to take live Q&A from people who need some support, want some support with job search, career, business questions that they have. Folks need help. And I've been coaching people to play their game big for a long time. That's why I'm the Big Game Hunter. I coach people to play the game big and win it, their professional lives as well as their personal lives. Yesterday, I received a message from someone after my blab. I thought it was a great question, so I just want to address it. And it starts off with, "Keep up the good work, Jeff." That's the subject line. And I appreciate that because Lord knows with 1,500 plus videos on YouTube, 3 podcasts, an e-zine that I publish, and a lot more, I'm putting in a lot of effort to help people. So he continues by writing, "Will be briefed. Trained in both mental health, computers, industrial psychology." Well, his grammar isn't perfect. It's 3 items, so it's more than both. "Since last year, started 2 part-time businesses to truly take control of my own future, sir. Still self-learning anything about sales, marketing, network. Jeff, I'll be 55 in February. The changes I've seen in both skilled, semi-skilled, labor, and professional positions has been, to say the least, mind-blowing. Having read your background and know you help people, question is this, sir. Where do you see the next 5 or so years for employers? More freelance, multiple careers, or generations living out of economic necessity? Any real-world insights, Jeff, would be appreciated. Have a good day, sir." And he signs it. I'll give him his privacy here. So I want to first answer the mental health profession and industrial psychology profession and then go more broadly. Computers is more complicated. I can address that too. But when push comes to shove, there are directions for the overall economy. But I'll start by speaking to the mental health profession and industrial psychology. One of the impacts of the Affordable Care Act for a lot of organizations is that reimbursements were cut. So the number of staff positions in mental health facilities has really dropped dramatically. It began before it became law because, frankly, most healthcare organizations read the tea leaves and knew that reimbursements were going to be cut because the government told them that. And then it became exacerbated by the passage of the Affordable Care Act. So the result winds up being that most organizations in healthcare are trying to keep their head count down and would prefer to do pay-for-service related relationships or fee-for-service related relationships rather than bring people onto staff. This is not to say that doctors aren't going to be hired. They are. That's the reality to it. Doctors will be hired. But other healthcare workers are not necessarily going to be on the front lines of new hires. They'd rather do low reimbursement, not pay for insurance, and bring people on in that way. For the average individual, for the non-healthcare professional, I think this is part of the landscape as well. Now, firms are trying to aggressively hire. Larger firms are trying to aggressively hire. And if I have time today, we're going to go into a letter I received from someone about job fairs and whether that has relevance here. But firms are trying to aggressively hire because the economy, although not as good as it was under the second George Bush, and let's not get into the political conversations about the economic collapse. Up until that point, there was a robust economy, and jobs were being added at a pace double what they are now, if at times not triple what they are now per month. But we have what we have now, and that's the way it is. And it's become difficult for people to find work regularly because they don't necessarily have the skills that employers are looking for. The school systems are not generating the talent in the United States that's needed to meet the demand. Firms are going overseas where schools train people to be workers, and thus they'd rather bring on people abroad rather than U.S.-based workers. It's not a question of cost, it's a question of skill. So skills are hard to find stateside because more and more schools train in soft skills. They train in skills like relationship building and how to play well with others, Sesame Street skills. Instead, companies try to hire hard skills, whether that's in technology, IT, engineering, accounting, and finance. These are hard skills. They're not soft skills. They hire salespeople, marketing professionals, web professionals. But the number of jobs requiring your back, or the number of jobs where a retail operation needs someone for 14 hours a day on the floor because they know something about the merchandise, these jobs are disappearing. So I see more and more firms going for part-time workers, temp workers, contract workers, and the impact of this is multifold. I just want to make sure I cover the points of the questions, so just bear with me. Wrong window, 1 second. So, I even closed it. That was goofy of me. So, I'll simply say that the impacts on the workforce is that you need to keep your skills up. You need to make yourself present effectively in order to demonstrate desirability for the marketplace. You're going to need to pay for classes. You're going to need to do things to keep your education up to speed and your skills at an elite level. You're not going to be able to take the casual, lazy approach because, frankly, your lunch is going to be eaten by others. You're going to need to promote yourself and market yourself because more and more firms, at the end of the day, more and more firms wind up being desiring part-time people to fill these needs, because using the example of fee for service, large employers are looking for contractors to blow in and blow out. They're looking for temporary workers. There's a lot that is going to disappear from the landscape over the next few years. So I would say in terms of the job market going forward, high skills-based market, you're going to need to drive yourself hard. You're going to need to push and promote yourself in order to find work. Always be skills-based. Yes, you can manage people who do, but those who manage people who do are often the target for the first round of cutbacks. So always be skill-based oriented in order to land effectively. So for kids, I'm not seeing young graduates needing to move back home unless, number one, they've gotten their degree in goofy areas. Number two, they've spent too much for their education, and given the student loan repayment schedules, aren't going to afford to be able to go out on their own. Those are really the two big things. If you don't have the skills for the marketplace, you will be screwed. No ifs, ands, buts about it. You will need to become an entrepreneur. You will need to do creative things to market yourself. You will need to carry 2 or 3 different careers concurrently in order to land. So that's how I see things going forward, and my best way of trying to address that question. Now, there was one other that I got, and it related to an invitation to a job fair that someone had received recently. There we go. So he had been invited to a job fair from a large pharmaceutical firm. And he asked, is there a growing trend of companies hosting their own job fairs? I took the below email from, and he mentions a large pharmaceutical firm where he's invited to attend this job fair. So the answer to the question is no, there's not a big trend toward job fairs, nor do I encourage people to go to job fairs. The reason for that is real simple. Job fairs are problematic for people. See, and this is something that most people don't know. Once your resume is in the hands of an employer attended through a job fair, they think they own you forever. So let's say you attend the job fair today. In 2 years, you decide to change jobs. And you contact 4 recruiters because you think they'll help you. And then one of them presents you to this firm that you went to a job fair to see. Often the employer goes, we already know this person. And they won't accept the referral. And then here's the bad part from your vantage point. The bad part from your vantage point is often they're overbooked and overscheduled and don't have time to reach out to you. You see, the hiring manager in most organizations isn't the one who's going to respond at that point. It would be HR. And what does HR do all day? They're interviewing, they're scheduling meetings with hiring managers who are wondering why they're not seeing more people. They're helping hiring managers with their interviews. They're debriefing it. There's a whole crap load of stuff that they're doing. Okay, I'll say it. A whole shitload of stuff that they're doing that doesn't relate to that, the following up on that tickler in their ATS, and they never get around to it. People have told me for years that they never hear from employers after they apply, even though their stuff is in the ATS. So all that's happened is by going to this job fair and probably not being hired, you got to remember that part. You're probably not hired as a result of attending the job fair. At a later point, it can come back and haunt you. So I always discourage people from going to job fairs. I discourage people from allowing their resume to be trapped in the ATS and causing them to miss out on opportunities years later. So that's my answer to a second question I've received. If you're not here today and you watch this on YouTube later on, or just want to message me, email jeffoaltmancoach@gmail.com. Send your question to me. I'd be happy to answer it. Also, like I said, I do these Monday through Friday on blab.im. Join me. Take a seat. Ask your questions. I'll spend some time with you. I'll be able to help you with your job search, your career, being a solopreneur. Happy to field all that sort of stuff and help you play your game big. So, Jeff Altman here. I'm just going to give you one more peek. Nope, no one's joined me yet. And I hope you have a great day. Take care.